Chapter 11. We went out that night, one man down. The only change I made to our gear was to trade Jill's 20 gauge for a 12. The Armory had a Mossberg 930 auto-loading shotgun with an extended tube magazine. It would be perfect for her, because it had about the same recoil as the 20 gauge, with a bigger blast at the muzzle. All she had to do was put the bead on the target and squeeze the trigger. After 6 shots, reload. She'd be shooting 12-gauge double-aught buck. It was a more common shell in the shotgun world than the 20-gauge, and the same ammo I used. She wouldn't have to break open the gun to reload every 2 shots, as she had to the night before. I kept my Model 12. It was highly reliable and had gotten me out of many scrapes in the last year. Plus, it felt lucky. It was my dad's gun. We used a patrol as a distraction once again, since it had worked before. This time we didn't have to hike in. As dusk became darkness, 2 Humvees went down the driveway and turned east. Enemy gunfire started immediately. As the Humvees provided our distraction, off we went behind them. Lopez drove while I rode shotgun. Literally, Jill sat between us, beside her bow. She might be mad at him, but she still loved him. Wilcox and Escobar rode in the back. The plan was to take the crosstown highway toward the airport. It was a fast way to go, with only a couple highway exchanges to get to the airport. Our plan for an easy drive was dashed almost immediately. We drove the white Ford pickup truck down the drive and turned west to go around the building. The distraction plan failed as cut-up sections of telephone poles, each 100 pounds or more, fell around us as they were tossed from the roofs of the buildings to the north. 2 and 3 Zoms at a time worked together to lift the logs and heave them down in front of us. The zombies were too far away for us to shoot with a shotgun or pistol. Gasoline bombs rained down around us, exploding in flashes of red and yellow flames. Lopez swerved to miss the telephone poles and flaming pools of gasoline. I felt the heat of the flames that filled the air and pulled my scarf up to filter the gasoline smoke from my mouth. Wilcox and Escobar in the back cussed as they struggled to stay down in the bed of the truck, attempting aimed shots at the Zoms. We swerved right and left, then right again, and then left down the street adjacent to Fort Tulsa. Zoms swarmed us from every alley, window, and doorway. We ran them down. "Jill," I yelled, "get out your .32. Shoot anything that gets on the hood or tries to come in that window." Pointing to the driver's side of the truck, I added, "Don't shoot me or Lopez." "I second that," Lopez laughed. "Well," I joked, "don't shoot me anyways." In spite of the danger and our fears, Jill was laughing. My .44 had 10 rounds left, 6 in the cylinder, 4 in my pocket. Jill and I shot a handful of Zoms in the street when we slowed to turn, and they grabbed at the windows of the truck. One jumped onto the hood, and I shot him with the .44. He fell off to the side, and then we were beyond them, heading east and south toward the highway. A half-mile away, the truck felt mushy on the corners, and Lopez yelled. He stepped on the brake, stopping the truck, and got out. The yellow flicker of flames reached up over the front left fender. The tires were ablaze. "Fire extinguisher! Anyone got one?" Lopez yelled. Searching the inside of the truck proved fruitless. No extinguisher. The guys in the back jumped out with rags in hand to fight a losing battle of slapping out the flames. We had to get that fire out or it would melt the tire. I didn't know if we had a spare. And we had no time to change the tire if we did. We were still too close to the hospital. The Zoms were surely following us and would be here in minutes. I looked around the streets. Beside the road was a dirt and gravel parking lot. "Get out," I yelled to Jill. She didn't move fast enough. A shove sent her out the driver's side door and into the arms of Lopez. I slid over, threw the shifter into gear, and twisted the wheel. 10 seconds later, the truck stopped in the parking lot, and I threw dirt on the burning tire. The others ran over. We saved the tire, but it was in bad shape. We wouldn't be going fast. From the streets and alleys wailed the sound of zombies. Guns fired randomly in the distance. They were signaling each other, calling more and more zombies to follow us. "Back in," Lopez said, and we didn't need to be asked twice. Go slow. That tire's about ready to burst, I said. Screw slow. We've got to get out of here. He spun the tires and got us back on the road toward the highway. 20 minutes later, with the tire miraculously still holding air, we approached the international airport from Highway 11. We crept up on the place, driving slow. A technological attack as sophisticated as jamming radio signals would be an asset the leaders would protect. Alerting them was the last mistake we needed to make. In the silence of night, they might hear the truck from even a mile away. We agreed that we should hike the rest of the way on foot. Nighttime was especially quiet since the infection. A few cricket sounds, no bullfrog croaks, as if all creatures hid in their holes when zombies were near. During the day, the air filled with birdsong and bugs buzzing, and even the occasional zombie wail or gunfire as scavengers and zombies crossed paths. At night, only the crickets hailed their presence. The quiet was worse in the winter, for Tulsa was deadly silent when it was cold, and the zombies were hungry. The one sound, the last sound that almost no one realized existed before the infection, before it was gone, was the constant, low, distant swoosh of aircraft flying 30,000 feet in the sky. No planes flew except the occasional military aircraft from Tinker Air Force Base, and they were mostly grounded for lack of fuel. We had a helicopter on the roof of the hospital, but Captain Hansen never got to fly it. I never got used to that sound being gone. I often wondered if it were like being deaf. We were a mile away. From here we should be able to see and listen to airplanes taking off and landing every few minutes. Should, if not for a millimeter wave machine at airports. We parked in the middle of the highway at the Pine Street exit and geared up for the hike in. Let them give us a ticket, Wilcox laughed, jumping out of the back. Lopez set up the radio signal analyzer once again. He held the antenna in the air and turned it slowly while watching the screen. This is it, he said with excitement in his voice. The signal is stronger and coming from the airport. Jill and I hoisted our handguns, slung our packs, and hefted our shotguns. The men did the same. The moon made the clouds grow on the horizon. It was dark, dark enough. It would be a good night for an attack. We could sneak in and take them by surprise, maybe even plant the C4 and be on our way back before they knew we were there. We moved out. While running and with the men moving out to the front, I could feel the exhilaration we all shared. A sense of energy coursed through the group. It felt like purpose. We were needed like never before. He's mine, Jill said to me as we ran. Crap, I thought. Not now. I ignored her. We ran on. My leg hurt. She asked rather pathetically, Did you hear me? Yes, Jill. He's mine. Not now. I wondered if it had been a mistake bringing her on this mission, especially after her fight with Lopez. Keep away from him, Jill said as she huffed for air. We slowed from a run to a jog. I don't like Lopez. Geez, Jill, he's a jerk, I said between breaths. The shooting pains in my right leg returned. I wondered if my leg hadn't fully healed, or if I had re-injured it the night before. He's mine, Raz. She hissed like a snake as she used the nickname given to me on the playground as a child, the nickname I despised. Have him. Take him, I said. My 30-pound backpack filled with extra ammo, food, water, radio, night vision goggles, and a medical kit didn't help my endurance. My nose started running in the cool autumn air. I took a bandana from my pocket and stopped to blow my nose. Jill looked back at me, made a noise that sounded like "Humph," and went back into a run.